Hi everyone, this video is about movement. As we know, a crucial part of our game and something that we need to practice. Again, I'll talk to you about it from just kind of my philosophy behind it and ways that you can kind of go and practice whilst we're not on the tennis courts at the moment. So for me, there's three ways of moving on a tennis court. You can run, you can crossover step, and you can side step. Now, which one you should actually perform as you're going to go and strike the ball depends on the distance you're required to cover. So, if you're required to cover a greater distance to get to the ball and strike it, you should be running towards that area. Why? Because it's the quickest way for us to move. Examples of that would be running from the baseline to the service boxes. If you got lobbed and you were at the volley area and you were required to cover and get back to the baseline. If you were playing singles, if you were on one side of the court and the next ball required you to get to the other side of the court. So the greatest distance around the court to cover just to get to the ball means that you should be running, okay? Crossover steps is when you've got still a reasonable amount of area to cover, but you can do it in one kind of motion, which is a jumping crossover step, where one foot would cross over the other and then the other foot would land out. So for example, if you were playing singles and you were in the center and you were required to get to the inner tramline area, that movement would probably be a crossover step before you recover. Side steps is kind of when you have to cover the shortest distance. So say for example you're in the middle of the tennis court and you only had to get 1 meter over to strike the ball. And depending on the area would then depend on the way that you should practice the movement to the ball, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples to go out and practice. As you can see behind me, I'll get the dog out the way in a minute. I've got my makeshift tennis court here, and I will just explain it in different steps. So step one is running to a ball, and I'm going to show you examples of going across and forward. Twist, run, hit. So examples of just running towards the ball. If you notice, by the time I took the first step, the preparation was done, okay? Another important point is for you to try and keep your eyes tracking the ball all the time. Don't turn your head away from wherever that ball is. That's very important. Next one are crossover steps. Crossover steps. Same principles apply as you go to set off. That first turn is done, so that I just cross over, hit the ball, cross over back. Side steps. Same principles apply. Try and get a little bit of a unit turn as you do that side steps. Now it's important that you practice these in different sequences, because within one stroke you might have to perform all three of them. You might have to start running, you might have to stop, hit the ball, you might then just do one crossover step, and then the next shot might be back behind you but a lot closer, so you might just have to do a side step. So it's important that you practice all of these in different sequences. So different sequences. different sequences, okay? So recap, the greater the distance you have to cover to get to the ball, you should be preparing the racket and running, yeah? As you get into the area, you might slow that running down and do more like shuffle side steps, just to adjust your position at that last moment before you plant and go and perform the stroke. You might then do a crossover step if the distance is a relatively big distance, but not so much that you have to get into full running mode, okay? And again, if it's the shortest distance, that would require you to just do little side steps. So get out and practice your movement. You can do this anywhere really. And any questions, drop me a line. I can't wait to get back on court. See you soon.